Within the pages of the Alien Worlds novel, written by Robert Holstock, there lies a device called the Talmor lens. A device so powerful that in multiples, these lenses could slow down the effects of time on a galactic scale. In this video, I will be speculating that if these devices are, or ever were in the game, in what way could the developers use them to connect with the Elite Dangerous Galaxy? From what I can decipher from the verses of Robert Holstock's literature, the lenses were part of a series of devices used to manipulate time as though it was a piece of putty in the palm of a cold, reptilian hand. As a lens would act as a focal point within the chamber of a beam or pulse laser, I would assume that the Talmor lens would also fit into this part of their device as a focal point. Part of this great construct was the stabilizers, the power harnesses, the lenses, the structure that would hold it together, and the Saramandara pearls. Together, through some unknown method, this device would allow the user to slow down time, speed up time, step through to the past or future, and travel infinite ranges in an instant. The race of aliens who built these devices were labelled the Ose-Raxlar. Yet this race did not invent these devices. They found them on a long dead world of an ancient race who had fought amongst themselves until extinction. The following is a verse from the Alien Worlds book. Even then, Jonathan was a dead world, a ruined place, covered with the scars of war and the remnants of cities that had once spanned its continents. For thousands of years, the Ose-Raxlar explored the vast caverns, the sky-high structures, the orbiting satellite cities, their interiors preserved in a state of dust-free mummification. They learned much of the creatures that had lived there and had ruled the universe so many millions of years before. They learned the secrets which led to the development of what we would call the warp drive, the space mechanism which would allow almost instantaneous traversing of vast distances of space. They discovered an ancient wisdom that had never been applied by the elf-like inhabitants of Jonathan. It was the secret not of just stabilising time, but of moving through time, of controlling time in a way beyond even the power of the great Gestalt of Heraldium. Humankind had felt that they were close to discovering the principle, for occasionally the warp drive would fail and ships would pass into the distant past or future, but we could not control the effect finely enough for it to be of any use. To protect this mind-boggling secret, one of the greatest races that had ever walked the starfields had waged civil war and ultimately destroyed itself. As is mentioned in this book, one collective device was not enough for the goals of the Ose-Raxlar. In order to fulfill their goals, the Ose-Raxlar required 1,000,000 of each part of the machine to make 1,000,000 collective devices in order to control time on a universal scale. They sent massive vessels out into far-flung regions of space with the task of making the great construct. Some would complete their task and some would fail. One such ship arrived at Earth in the distant past. The following is from the Alien Worlds novel. It was a dream that came to obsess them and demand all but a fraction of the energy and economy of their race. They began their task of conquering and building, a task that continues to this day. For thousands of years, architectural and mathematical expeditions spread out towards the farthest reaches of the Raxlar known universe, gradually constructing the machine that would focus the universal force into that far distant point. The expeditions never knew their homeworld. They knew only the task. Generations were born, lived and died on huge task ships as they sought the correct locations for the various parts of the machine. And at a time in our distant past, one such ship found Earth and realised it was an ideal place to build a set of stabilisers. There was no machine technology in that time on our planet, and the Ose-Raxlar built machines in the image of the men below. Taller, stronger, controlled from above. The robots walked amongst men and began the legends of the gods. They were remembered in time as the gods Horus. The place the Ose-Raxlar had chosen to start the work was a country known today as Egypt, and here they found a society ready-made for their work, with an elite royalty overseeing a rigidly stratified population. It was the work of no more than 4 dynasties to convince the pharaohs to build their tombs as pyramids, conforming to the various dimensions required for the Talmor lens. Without the presence of technology that could produce non-corrosive metals, stone was used. and the stabilizers stood for 1,000 years. Only one small fact marred the achievement of the Osier Raxlar on Earth. No one aboard the task ship had been alive when the journey had begun. Mindlessly, they obeyed the sacred directives, slowly forgetting the purpose of the mission that would result at its endpoint. Slowly too, the significance and importance of shape was twisted and confused and ultimately lost. They built the stabilizers, the pyramids of Earth, in the easy way, with the points towards the stars. A disastrous mistake for the Osier Raxlar and the beginning of the end of their dream on Earth. These verses document the ancient past of humanity, that humanity had been subverted in order to construct a part of the great construct, but their work had failed. These devices will become known to us as the pyramids, yet as it mentions, the device pointed in the wrong direction. As to the scale of one of these collective devices, the fact that the pyramid was merely a stabilizer for the lens would suggest that these devices were gargantuan in scale. Perhaps only one collective device was needed per galaxy. If this is to be true, and Robert Holstock's book is in some way going or has been used for Elite, then there will be other parts to one of these great constructs within our galaxy. The Talmor lens, the power harness, the structure to hold these distant parts together, and the Saramandara pearls, perhaps no bigger than a child's hand. Could these ancient devices be in parts of our galaxy, functioning in some way, yet not complete, as to the events on Earth many years ago? Maybe the permit locks are there for the good of the pilots who wish to step foot into these locales, each part of the device affecting the space-time of those locations as though operating but not as intended. The mystery of the artifact on Mars is canon, and the Dark Wheel novel, although not confirmed as canon, is thought to be as such. The organisation known as the Dark Wheel is thought to have strange devices on their ship that allow for instantaneous travel across large segments of the galaxy. At some point in time, these devices were thought to be labelled SAP-8 containers, where the devices were thought to be contained within. The mention of the Omphalos Rift within the Raxlar Codex entry could be the connection from the game and Holstock's extra-universal content. The persistent mention of a gateway or hole in space within canon lore does fit into one of the purposes of the Talmor lens, to control time to the point where you can slow its tick to a fraction of its former speed. This would allow the user to disregard its effects on distance, as though hitting the fast forward button. The only thing that is known in the universe to have an effect on time in any way is gravity. Did the Talmor lens and its associated devices harness gravity? If the pyramids of Earth was to be built as the Osier Raxlar intended, the other way round, then at least the weight of the object would focus on its tip. Could the Saramandara pearl have a connection to the artifact on Mars, no bigger than a child's hand? One of the common themes in science fiction is the malfunction of time, from Babylon 5 with the events of Jeffrey Sinclair and Babylon 4 to Star Trek Enterprise with the Dyson Spheres and the Xindi War. If done right, themes such as these can be exploited to explain holes within the storyline that were previously overlooked. One of the main influences of modern science fiction is 2001: A Space Odyssey. There is many interpretations to the overall meaning of the film. One of these themes is an unknowably ancient intelligence engineering the galaxy as they see fit. One of the scenes in this film's sequel is the collection of multiple monoliths within the atmosphere of Jupiter in order to ignite the gas giant and create a new sun. What we also see at the end is the accelerated development of life upon Europa. Although we see in the earlier film humanity's descendants were influenced by touch, could the monoliths of those films also control time in a way that they could accelerate evolution using the only known subverter of time? Influences are key to understanding the genius of this universe. Thanks for the watch. Please make sure if you like this video to hit the like button. If you are new, please consider a subscription. If you want to have updates on future content, hit the bell notification icon and use the relevant social media links on the homepage to connect with me further. Cheers.